Thank you for joining us on Biblical Answers to Tough Questions. In this series of roundtable discussions, pastors and Bible scholars address the difficult questions confronting not only believers and the curious, but also those who have doubts concerning the truth of the Scriptures. Today's topic is creation or evolution. Which is the truth, and does it matter? Our guest panelists are Pastor A.C. Bryant of the First United Methodist Church in Sebring, Florida, and Mr. Dean Vogel, a Bible hermeneutics instructor at Bible Fellowship Church. Welcome, gentlemen. Before we go any further, would you explain hermeneutics to me?
Hermeneutics. Basically, hermeneutics is just the art and science of studying ancient documents in a way to come to understand what the document actually meant to say at the time it was written.
On the sixth day, now we have living creatures. We have the birds, we have the fish, we have the plants, and it's a complete creation, and each after their own kind, and in 24-hour days, obviously. And I know there's a lot more proof in the Bible, and we're going to get into that in some future programs to show that 24 hours is what God used in each one of these creation days. If you have a being that's powerful enough to speak something into existence, he doesn't need a million years. I think that would defeat the purpose. I was even thinking, by the way, about Adam, who I believe died at the age of 930. So you got a ways to go. And the point of that is that if he was created on the sixth day and he walked with God on the seventh day and he lived after that and begat, then he would have to be several million plus 930 if we go by evolution. I don't think he was. In specific order then, God created the heavens and the earth. He created light and water, the plants, the sea and flying creatures, the land animals, and then he created man and woman in his own image. And by design, he made life possible, and then he set up all of the physics and the law in order to sustain that life. Here's a few more questions as we go along. Man was created above animals and appointed to rule over creation, but was that really God's ultimate purpose for his creation? Just to rule over animals?
No. God created us to have fellowship with him. God put within us a hunger to know God, to walk with God. And a lot of people today, they try to satisfy that hunger that God put in us in relationships with other people or in things, and they still have that hunger. God put us here, created us to have fellowship with him. And no man and no woman is going to find total fulfillment of life unless they find God that's going to satisfy that hunger that he put there that only he can satisfy.
Exactly.
When I talk with a couple that are getting married, one of the things I share with them, I say, I know y'all love each other and you're looking for this person to make you happy. And you want to make this person happy. You're going to find out you can't make somebody happy. And many times in a marriage when somebody finds somebody, they think, I found the person that's going to make me happy. I never will forget what Ruth Graham said about Billy Graham one time when they were talking, are there things that upset you that Billy Graham does? And she started listing them. And to the point that the person kind of sat back and said, have you ever thought about divorce? She said, divorce, never. Murder, yes. But you will not find happiness in a relationship with someone else in trying to make them feel that hunger that only God can. And God created us to have a fellowship with him, and you can't have the abundant life in life until you understand God put a hunger in there that he can only satisfy.
And how fascinating that life goes beyond life with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just another aspect of it, we as Christians, we see and dwell so often on the intensity of the love that he has for us as evidenced by what Christ or what he in Christ was willing to do for us. Well, we often don't go back to right here and stop and look at, okay, what did he build for us? What did he put in place for us to enjoy? Anybody around here bored with exploring this planet yet? Okay, I think you could live to 900 and something years and still not grow bored with the things that you could explore and discover on this planet. He had to go to a great deal of trouble, and the whole time thinking about us when he was creating that, when he was designing all this.
We were created for God's pleasure.
That's right. And if we give him pleasure, he gives us pleasure. If we're talking about all of these incredible proofs, and there's so much proof in here, as God says, he's provable by the seen things. The unseen are proved by that, and there's so much of that. So the question is, it's a struggle for a person to be an evolutionist. It is. It has to be a struggle. It takes more faith than I've got.
And it gets worse every day as science uncovers more.
So here's the question. Why is there a constant battle to push God out of education in favor of evolution, which is every day being proved more and more a false theory?
Let me set that up briefly with a statement about scientists as a whole. Do you understand what I mean by the term speculative scientists or speculative biologists? In other words, they're the kinds of scientists or biology researchers that only work on projects that are going to bring some kind of economic end or economic profit. All right? They're going to come up with a new vaccine. They're going to come up with a new strain of wheat. They're going to, those kinds of scientists. Those kinds of guys put no stock whatsoever in evolution. As far as they're concerned, it doesn't exist. It has no impact on what they're doing whatsoever. Does that tell you something? Okay.
They're not in the fight.
They're not in the fight because it's irrelevant to them. Because it doesn't work. If evolution was something that would work and they could make money with, they would do it. All right? But it doesn't. It doesn't work. All right? So that kind of leaves the reality of science, the reality of research, completely out of that debate that we have between creation and evolution. So there's only one remaining place, and that's politics. All right? One of our founding fathers, forgive me for not remembering his name, said there is nothing so ridiculous, but that if it is repeated often enough, people will begin to believe it.
Hitler said something like that too. The big lie repeated often enough will
carry the day, right? Mm-hmm. So literally the only motivation that people have for clinging to that creationist model has to be traced back to some sort of a Marxist objective.
Marx, as you may know, was studying actually to be a priest when he ran into Charles Darwin's book. Matter of fact, if you see a lot of the posters that had Marx showed Darwin right alongside him, even though they were not contemporaries. And the reason was that according to Darwin, first it was a survival of the fittest, so therefore, if you were the strongest, you should have all the power. And second of all, since we're nothing more than an evolved, lower-formed animal, there's no more harm in killing a human than killing a chicken. So I have one more question here before we close, and that is, there are a lot of people that say they believe in a creator God, and you mentioned them earlier, and they say, but there's such a thing as theistic evolution. Why does that not work?
You want to take that one first, AC, or me?
Go.
Okay. The first off is, in Romans, God makes very clear, death came by sin.
Yes.
We didn't have death before there was sin. Adam and Eve lived in a perfect world. When the Lord killed an animal to make them skins for clothing, they witnessed death for the first time. Imagine just the emotional shock to have witnessed that when they hadn't witnessed it before that point in time. So, a necessary mechanism to the Darwinian theory is natural selection. Natural selection doesn't happen without death. So how do you say that man was developed over billions of years, and then at the same time say Adam and Eve were in a garden and then they sinned and they fell. You would have to take that whole chunk right there and throw it out. Well, if you're going to throw out that part of the Bible, what measure do you use to figure out what other parts of the Bible you follow and which ones you throw out?
So theistic evolution, it can't exist. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was looking in the next verse 28 where it says God blessed him and said, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth and rule over the beasts and the fish and so forth. And he said, then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, and they will be yours for food, and all the beasts of the earth and all the birds of the air and all the creatures that move on the ground and everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And that was before death. So
there were no
and animals
carnivores
didn't
at
eat
that
each
point.
other. That's right. So answering tough questions about evolution versus creation is going to continue in this series. There's more. We'll address such question as, how old is the universe? Can we prove definitely that the days of creation were 24 hours long? What scientific historical proofs are there for a creator God? And why does the existence of a fine-tuned creation panic Darwinists? It's important to note that they are panicked by all of these things, and we can feel a confidence
Darwin
in that.
himself was disturbed.
Oh yeah, he was, show me one thing that goes wrong here and it's all gone. And we invite all of you out there to email your own questions on this topic or any other subject that is pertaining to the Bible. You can send your questions and your prayer requests to us by clicking on our Contact Us button up there. Answering your tough questions from the Bible is an important part of Lamb's TV ministry. Our ultimate goal, however, is to spread the gospel of good news that Jesus Christ was made sin for us and crucified in our place that we may have forgiveness. Therefore, whosoever believes on him will not perish, but have everlasting life. This is a worldwide ministry. We go completely around this globe, and we pray that this program has been a blessing to you wherever you are. We encourage you to do as the Bereans in Acts 20, who received the word from no less than the Apostle Paul, but then they searched the Scriptures to prove whether those things were true. Our guest panelists today were Pastor A.C. Bryan of the First United Methodist Church and Mr. Dean Vogel, Bible instructor in hermeneutics, both of Seabrick, Florida. And until next time, may God richly bless you and yours. For lambstv.com, I'm R.T. Byron. Good night.